So how do you emulate someone else's work to create your own? That's what I'm going to be talking about today. And I'm going to tell you what emulation is if you don't already know. So emulation. For an artist, emulation means studying your predecessor's work to get ideas and learn techniques to creating your own. In the dictionary, emulation is defined as an effort to match or surpass a person or achievement, typically by imitation. Imitation is the word that we need to focus on here because that's where it really comes into play. And there's been a lot of ego involved in the past throughout art history, where artists are sort of competing with each other's egos to prove how skilled they are at what they create. Okay, this is something that's been going on for hundreds, maybe thousands of years. Ever since the beginning of art, people have been emulating each other, building off each other's past techniques and ideas to create new ones. Unless you were the first cave painter in Lascaux or wherever, 100,000 years ago or 50,000 years ago, you were probably emulating someone, or you probably are, because that's how you learn art. You're not the first one to be an artist. There's been millions of artists before you. So how do you emulate someone else's work? Well, first of all, you don't want to copy it. So don't copy their work. Just pick out the ideas or techniques or whatever you like from it, and then use that to create your own. I'll give you a couple examples of how I used emulation when I created these pieces. First, we'll start with this one here. So this sculpture, you first might notice the green patina on it. Looks like an aged bronze. That's because I saw antique bronzes and I decided I liked that color because it just gave it a very, rich character. So since it's someone that represents primitive man, primitive, think long time ago, I decided to give it an aged look to it because it represents the past. So that's an example of learning to emulate something. Another example may be using a certain pose. If you look at this one here, the taller sculpture, you'll see that that sculpture has a Contrapposto pose, which means just standing comfortably in a natural pose, with the back arched a little bit, one leg out, not standing stiff. And you see how he kind of curves inward, one leg is out in front of the other. He's sort of resting on this leg here. And that is something that has been used for hundreds of years. And a lot of artists have emulated each other doing that. We like to imitate these tricks to sort of show off our skill and talent in art. That's why I mentioned egos earlier, is because a lot of successful artists, especially during the Renaissance period, were constantly competing with each other or trying to prove that they were the next greatest thing and that they were better than any of the artists that preceded them. So that's just something I really liked. I didn't copy their work. I just took a pose and made mine similar to that, the Contrapposto. So that's another example of how to emulate something. If you're doing a painting, maybe you like the texture on it. I'll show you a painting over here. So I didn't do this painting, but you'll see that it has a very rough texture, okay? So the artist that created this probably saw a painting that was older than he was for many years ago, or someone had created before him that had the thick brush strokes where the paint was put on, in thick layers, and he probably liked that, so he said, what, I want to put that in my paintings. I want to create my paintings that way. And that's how he did his, except you know, his subject matter is probably a little different. His colors are different. Everything about his painting is different, but the brush strokes may be similar. And that is another form of emulation. So when you want to emulate something, you need to decide what you like in other works of art and then make a decision on how you want to incorporate that into your own work. And you know, you can make it original. Sometimes you might combine two different techniques to create your own. That's different from taking like the Mona Lisa and putting a mustache on her. It's not emulation, that's just copying the piece of art and then adding something to it. That's totally different. What you want to do is you want to find art that you really like or you think it was done very well and figure out why you like it and why it was done well. Break it down and pick out the different things about it that you like and then try to create your own style with that. Come up with your own ideas and incorporate those into your own work. And that's how you can learn to become a great artist too, with your own ideas. It's just something you have to work at. Art is sort of like a layering of each other's different styles and materials and techniques and all that over the years to create something better or to create something new. Every piece of art is sort of a derivative because you've been exposed to so many different types of art throughout your life, unless you were living under a rock. So that's all I have today. Thanks again for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel. I'll be covering more topics in art and different styles and techniques of art. But thanks again, guys, and we'll see you next week.